Hi, this is Tim, and I'm going to show you in my Screenomatic presentation how to use Excel, and while using Excel, how to show mathematical formulas in a box in Excel and be able to transfer that from one cell to another and find your answers more quickly than having to do the math on paper and write them down. So the first thing you need to do is be able to open Excel. Normally you would open it from your Start menu and find it, or if you had a shortcut on your home screen, you could open it from there. I have a shortcut button on my keyboard, so I have it open from there. I'm going to go ahead and open my Excel I already had open. Here's the project that we're going to try to complete. So we're going to start with a new blank workbook, and your screen should look like this right now. Now we're going to move down and start from a blank spot, and we're going to leave some room up here so that we can label our areas and we can make it look a little bit nicer for a presentation later. Now in this first column, I want to have the numbers increase by 1, almost if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we want to have 1 through 10. So up here you'll see that they have this auto sum button. We can use that, but what we're going to do is we're just going to hit the equals button and start with our first formula. And since we want to start at 0 and then add 1, we're not going to put 0 in there. We want to be able to make the next box increase by 1 based on what the box before it says. So we want to go equals, and we want to go, there's nothing in this box, so that would be 0 because it's blank. And we want to add 1 to it, so we hit plus 1. From here we can just hit enter. Notice how it gives us the number 1. Now if we click back on that box, our formula is right up here in the formula bar. And that gives you this box, which is labeled B4 plus 1, and puts it in B5. Now in order to get the next one in B6, we want to have what B5 is, and we want to add 1 to it. So we're going to say equals B5 plus 1. Now it should give us 2, and it did. Notice when we click on the B6 box, our formula is B5 plus 1. Now a little shortcut in Excel is, see how this corner right here is got a little square? If you get your mouse over it, your mouse will turn from this big plus sign to a smaller plus sign. You can click with your left mouse button and just drag down to the spots, as many boxes as you need, and let go, and it will automatically replace each box with the formula that you had in there. So to show it, up here you have B5 plus 1. In the next box it'll say B6 plus 1 up here in the formula bar, and it repeats on each one all the way down, adding 1 to whatever's in the box before, almost giving us figure numbers. We want to create two formulas. In this next column, and we're going to jump over one so there's some space. In this next column we want to create a formula that allows us to tell you that figure number, and we want to multiply that figure number by 3 and then add 1 to it. So our formula would be kind of like 3x plus 1, but instead of x we're going to use a cell number, and a cell number is based on the letter and the number that coordinates you to that spot. So we're going to use these cell numbers, okay, 1 through 10, to create our formula. So to show you, we're going to say equals our cell number times 3, right? So 3 times whatever's in that cell number, which in B5 is the number 1, and then we want to add a number, we want to add 1 to it. Now because of our mathematical order that we have learned, PEMDAS, which most of us are familiar with at the college level, we don't have to put parentheses around B5 times 3 because we know we have to do multiplication before we do addition. But just for elementary reasons, we're going to put parentheses around our B5 times 3, so we know that we have to do that first inside the parentheses and then add 1 to it. And now from here we can just hit enter, and it gives us 4. Well, let's check our math. 3 times whatever's in this cell, which is 1, 3 times 1 is 3. If you add 1 to 3, that gives you 4. Great. Let's go ahead and get our formula and repeat it for the 10 boxes and check our math. So let's go down here to like where we got the answer 13. Well, it would be B8 up here in your formula bar, and in B8 we have the number 4. 4 times 3 is 12, and if we add 1 to it, that gives us 13. Let's check one more just to make sure. In this cell, it gives us this formula, B12 times 3. Well, in B12, we have the number 8. 8 times 3 is 24, and if we add 1, that gives us 25, and that's our answer. So it looks like our formula is working good for that column. The other formula that we want to put in there is our figure number, which is these numbers here, and we want to multiply that figure number times the figure number plus 1 and divide that entire thing by 2. So let's see if we can do that. Equals, and we're going to do 2 parentheses. Well, we're going to start with 1, and we're going to click on our figure number, which is this box, and we're going to multiply that by parentheses the same figure number plus 1. Okay, so we're going to take the figure number and add 1 to it, and then we're going to take whatever answer we get there and multiply it by that same figure number. Okay, that'll give us a new number, and we want to divide that whole thing by 2. Okay, so let's see what we get here. Oh, we got the number 1. Well, let's see. If we put our figure number, which is whatever's in B5, and right now in B5 we have the number 1, put that into our formula up here. Let's see what we get. So B5, which is number 1, plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. If we take the number 2 and we multiply it back by what's in B5, which is 1, so 2 times 1, we get 2. Alright, so 2 is on top, and we divide 2 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Let's repeat our formula for our 10 boxes and see if those are correct. So we know this first one works. Let's try this fourth one. So up here we have B8. So in box B8 we have the number 4. The number 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so 5 times what's in B8, number 4. So we have 5 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. We take that number and we divide it by 2. So 20 divided by 2, that's 10. Looks like it worked for that one. Let's try one more. In our formula for this box, we're using whatever's in cell number B12. In B12, we have the number 8. So we take 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay, 9 times 8 is 72. Take that, divided by 2. So 72 divided by 2 is 36. Awesome. Let's check that on our calculator in case you couldn't do that in your head. So we have 9 times 8, 72. 72 divided by 2 is 36. Awesome. So now we know our formulas are working. Now we want to make it look a little bit nicer. So why don't we go up here and we can label this column figure number. Okay, we know that that hash mark means number. Over here we're going to put in our formula number 1, and over here we'll put in formula number 2. Okay, now we can go up here between these two cells. Notice how this writing is overlapping the boxes. So if we go up here right between our two cells, you'll see our mouse will turn into this two-sided arrow, almost plus sign. If you double click right there, it'll automatically adjust the size of this to fit all of that wording inside that cell. So we can do the same thing here, and now we have our box. How about if we go up here and we can edit how that's laying inside that cell. Right now it's left indent. How about we go center? Sounds good. We'll center this. We can center this. Actually, we can just center all of this and kind of make it look nice. Now we could take and we could put a border around all of this. So you notice how I did this. I clicked on this box, and I'm going to go all the way down here, and I'm going to hold down the shift key, and left click, and that highlights all of these cells. Right here, this button, this is for borders. I can click on this little bottom arrow to give me a drop down menu, and I can go down here and say all borders, and now that will create borders around all of my boxes, all of my cells. So I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to click on this box, hold down the shift key, click on here, and now since that's the last one I selected, I can just click all borders again right here. And one more time, click in this box, hold down the shift key, and highlight all of them, all borders. There you go. Now I'm going to type my formula that I have right inside here, which is going to be 3x plus 1, and over here I'm going to say x parentheses, which means times, x plus 1 parentheses, and parentheses divided by 2. I should have put another parentheses over here just to make sure that everybody knows that we're doing all of our multiplication and addition on top of that division symbol, and then dividing that whole thing by 2. So now we're going to center all of those, and so now we know what we're doing. I'm going to change the shading inside this area to kind of separate it. And so up here, this is like a fill button. I'm just going to give it a light color gray right between here to kind of separate us from our answers to what we have inside here, and that should be a little X, not a big X. And then there's our labels. Now you know how to use Microsoft Excel to create mathematical formulas, and it will give you the answers without having to do the long math on paper. Thanks for watching my show, and I hope you have a good day.